I will hand over to the moderator for the panel discussion to take it forward. And I encourage everyone in the room to participate as well, so that you're not here to listen in on a discussion, but the moderator will guide you and give you the time to engage with the panelists as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. This is yours. Okay. Please, you're welcome, and thank you for coming. Please, when I ask the question, you introduce yourself, and then you address the questions. We have a limited time on our space. We are in the active citizenship and digital divide section, and I will start from Ms. Matalane, sorry for pronunciation. How do you define active citizenship in the context of South Africa, and how does it contribute to the National Development Plan goals, the NDP goals, active citizenship and NDP goals? Thank you.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Matalane Ngobeni. Am I audible?
Yes.
I head up the digital communications portfolio for Brand South Africa, which is a state-owned entity that is mandated to manage South Africa's brand image. So we are in the business of building reputation and developing campaigns that promote investment and tourism into the country. So when we look at the role of Brand South Africa, we're really around storytelling, right? That is how we sell South Africa. And I don't think our job can be done without looking into the role of active citizenship. And why I say that is because we have to start at home to build a country. You have tourists that will come into this country, and the people that they interact with are communities on the ground. And if we don't have, a strong social cohesion aspect on the ground, it actually works backwards in the work that we do to attract people into the country. Now, back to your question in terms of how do we define active citizenship, I think we're really looking at the level of engagement that citizens and communities have in terms of their willingness to build a nation that we all aspire to. And that, I think, is in the positive aspect of it. But I think in the interest of having, a frank discussion, we need to also realize that there's a negative aspect of of active citizenship as well, where citizens will participate in protests and raise in terms of social and community aspects that they don't find joy in. So I think those are two aspects that we can look at. And then linking it back to the NDP for us as a country, I think it links to the goal of building a better South Africa that contributes to a better Africa and a better world. And I think if we're able to then, build active citizenship in our country, we'd be able to contribute better on a global perspective. I'll stop there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. John Bosco, please. Access to digital technologies and ICT has been a major issue within the country in terms of affordability of data, inadequate digital infrastructure, digital literacy. What do you think are the key barriers that is contributing to this digital divide in the country? And how do these barriers reflect on the socioeconomic inequalities within the Republic? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is John Bosco Arends. I am the acting group chief technology officer for the city of Johannesburg. And I'm also the chairperson of the Chartered CIO Council, which is an ICT professional body. So I think from access, I think we have a huge issue with access. But there are ways to get around it, and I'll explain this to you. So what we are doing at the City of Johannesburg, as an example, is we're using our financial muscle to roll out free Wi-Fi to the public. So we've tried by rolling out our own public Wi-Fi access terminals, sending them out to certain key community areas that we target, the list we get from our political heads, and we roll them out so people have free access to data. But we've realized that giving them free access to data is going to take a very long time if we have to use our budget. So what we've done now is we started partnering with partners in the sector, like with the Wits University as an example. So we have signed an agreement with Wits University whereby we use their existing Wi-Fi infrastructure to send the free Wi-Fi to the students. So students can now actually have access to that free Wi-Fi within the campuses of the Wits University. But when they get home, they'll also be able to then stream and use that access, public access that we have, free public Wi-Fi access that we have. And this is implemented at some of our contact centers. They implemented it at every library you can find. So the City of Johannesburg runs the libraries within our geographical area. So it will allow students to go and do their research, et cetera, using free public Wi-Fi as an example. Now, we realize that even by partnering with universities and other tertiary institutions, we need to still expand the net wider as far as partnerships is concerned. So what we are trying to do now is there are two strategic programs that will drive those sort of expansions to make access to internet easier. The first one is partnering with the bigger cell phone companies, your Vodacoms, your MTNs, etc., telecoms and so on, and then try and get an agreement with them to also publish our free Wi-Fi to people that are within the geographical boundaries of the City of Johannesburg. That's the first one. The second one is to empower what we call SMME resellers that will use the free Wi-Fi of the city and off-sell connectivity to the people in their communities, in the townships and the locations that they have. And we believe that by giving people access to Wi-Fi and internet, they will be able to have accessibility to digitization, to services they can do, and any other thing as far as creating awareness is concerned. Because what we realized as a city is that we've got 4 stakeholders in our city context. Sorry that I'm taking so long, Chair. The one is you are a resident or you are a voter in the City of Johannesburg and you need to consume services. So you'll be able to get onto those portals. You'll be able to make application for services. You'll be able to pay for services. You'll be able to participate in the voting in the elections of the City of Johannesburg. You'll be able to participate in council. I think we're one of the few, if not one of the only ones, that actually streams all our council meetings live and in real time on social media, unedited as it happens. In fact, we've gone a step further now where we have built 3 mobile trailers that are actually going to follow the executive around and be able to take the city to communities where connectivity is not possible, to provide that sort of interaction. So I think this is where we are right now. Thanks.
Thank you for the good job you guys are doing. Thank you. Mr. Pillay, I want to ask, what's the role of technology in achieving SDGs? And how can, because we are talking about active citizenship, and that is the core aspect of our SDG. How can PPP, private-public partnership, also enhance the scaling community-led initiatives using technologies in achieving SDG?
Thank you very much. My name is Yugen Pillay. I've co-founded a company with my wife, Nita, called Sustainability Development Global. We do training in sustainability. Our company was the first company in Africa to get licensed by the UN, did a lot of assistance and so on. And when you ask the question, whether it's government or private sector, what are you doing in these areas to assist? And you'll even see on the SDG report that had come out is that the least amount of information is known about communities. Now, if we're looking for data points, that's where we can access the youth to give us their data points. And it's not just about getting information from them, it's about asking them to assist us with solutions that we sell to the world. And why SDGs is a great way to do this is because those 17 goals, there's a roadmap behind that. And if you can solve a problem using the SDGs in South Africa, there's nothing stopping you from solving a problem on a global scale. And therefore, I think the more we have access to youth with these data points, with what they think, and they've got so much access, thank you to the likes of this man sitting next to me, to solutions around the world that other youth is doing, they'll be able to come up with much more, in a much quicker pace, solutions than any private public sector partnership can come up with, because they can come up with solutions so quickly because they communicate on a different level to the rest of us. And so I truly believe that the future is in the youth and their solutions using the SDGs.
Thank you very much. I will just go to the next panelist, Ms. Mamela. Sorry for pronunciation. How do we create peaceful online spaces? Most youth are online. Everybody's chatting and all those stuff. How do we create peaceful online spaces for active citizenship, and how do we combat issues of disruptive misinformation that is hampering or hindering our active engagement online and also within our communities?
Thank you so much. I think the first thing is digital literacy.
Your name and then a brief introduction about yourself and then the response to the question.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon, everyone. My name is Mamela Luthuli. I'm the founder and CEO of Take Note IT. We specialize in cybersecurity, IoT, and also having the Cyber Excellence Academy. I think the first thing is literacy. You know, digital literacy is crucial. Everything starts with education. If we can really educate our citizens and how can they use technology to their advantage, you know, and not being destructive. So for me, that's the really first premise of saying we've got so much power now because we're so interlinked throughout the world. You know, if you look in the old days, how difficult it was to communicate, to send a message. Right now, it's in the tip of your finger. But how do you utilize that? Especially for young people, I always say that we've got so much to talk about that is relevant. I mean, even from the women empowerment point of view, how do we change the narrative? If we can use technology, especially the social media platforms, to really address the most relevant topics that are burning in our societies and in our communities. But the key pillar is education. So I'm currently working with universities to say, how do we make sure that those, because that's the future of tomorrow, those active citizens, what are the do's and don'ts? You know, things like tackling the cyberbullying, like things like also understanding the policies, the framework. You know, the cybersecurity space. There's a beautiful piece of legislation, the Cybercrime Act. It's not perfect, but it's a good start. But how do we make sure that we educate and get young people to understand it and use it to their advantage, and most of all, to communicate using the social mediums? We've got so much to communicate. You can reach out to the minister now that is not responding to your email just through X, you know, by asking but you have to use it to your advantage. So there's really good and bad, but I think if young people can really focus on using it to their advantage, it can really work better. But education is key.
Okay, thank you very much.
Digital citizenship. Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Question,
Yes.
if I may. Digital citizenship. So, I have a question, and this has not only personally affected me, but I see it every day on digital platforms. And I'm not sure, I don't want to select for the facilitator who must answer this, but in my heart is so close that this active citizenship that you have, it's great if it translates to constructive activity, okay? So it's great. I understand the purpose, and social media helps us to connect, great stuff. But how much of the risk are we able to address in the also active citizenship digital space? Because one, there's not only cyberbullying, but there is also the ease and ability to create platforms that hide behind anonymous. It's Monday in the English. It's doing things. Anonymity. Yeah. Because how do you then deal with that and manage it? And I've not heard of the Cybercrime Act. So I would love to hear, how do you deal with this? It happens every day, whether on X or whatever. So there's a level of active engagement, and then there is people literally, in the olden days, it would be people planning in the night against people and doing bad things in the night against them. But now they're doing it on social media. So how do we create health in that space also.
Okay. Sergeant Bosco.
Thank you. I think I'll start first. So remember, cyber and the world that you're describing, whilst on the positive side, we are able to provide digital services, giving access. I mean, we even go a point further on social media. If you go now to the city of Johannesburg and you write a Facebook message or an X message to the mayor, you'll get a response. Whereas previously, you would have had to get to his office, wait in a very long queue, and you're lucky if you get to speak to them, right? So that's the good part. The negative part, what we have to do, unfortunately, as organizations, is we have to do 4 things very well. The first one is awareness. People need to know how to read before they respond. And they can only know that that platform is not a City of Johannesburg platform. It's a wrong platform if it doesn't have the following criteria. So awareness is very important. The second thing is around training people. So what we do is we run what we call campaigns on cybersecurity, where we send out messages. You'll be surprised how many people. We've done a test about a couple of weeks ago where we said, please do not click on this link. And it was like, oh, I got to do this. And they do it, right? So that's the other thing. So it's awareness and training. And then what we do is we follow that up with consequence. So if you score high enough, we are fine. But if you score low enough and you're at risk, we send you for retraining. And that retraining is now linked to your scorecard. That is if you are within the back office part of the work. But I think as far as the front office is concerned, creating that awareness around what to do. People don't know that this is a fake link. People don't know that I shouldn't click here. People don't know all these bad things. So I think what we need to do is we need to have the government sponsor a media campaign running through radio, TV, etc., that actually makes people aware this is our link. We are not in a link that is linked like this. And I think that will help create that awareness of citizens. Because remember, what we are doing here with digitization is we're creating a platform through which the citizen can engage with government to get services. So we need to make sure that that engagement is in a safe way. And we also need to make people aware that we won't ask you for the following information. So please don't give your banking details to log a call. Don't give this and that to do certain things. So I think those things are critical. And the last and the final thing is we need to give people a place through where they can complain. Now, the Cybersecurity Act, etc., and all the other pieces of legislation provides for certain things, but I think we need to give people a safe space where they can go and log an issue, but it must be a manned place that will take them through all 4 steps. The understanding of the incident, logging it, giving feedback and follow-up, but also training the user and creating that awareness so that you prevent the recurrence going forward. And the last part of that then is the consequence management of it. It has to be public, so people can say, if I go do that in that place, not going to work. They must try more innovative ways to get our money. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, just to add on what he's saying, but also just the Cybercrime Act to address the issue of bullying. If someone can just take your nude pictures and put it into the public or attacks you in the public, the act itself is providing for you. It can be up to a 10-year jail sentence. Before that was not there. So now in the court of law, you can take on someone and it's a winnable case.
Okay, thank you.
But to his point, education and training and social engineering is key because even people that are in social media, they don't know their rights and have an in-depth understanding about the act and how can you be protected as a citizen.
You want to ask something?
No, I completely agree with what's been said here. I just wanted to maybe, because we're speaking on the issue of digital divide, that it's a multifaceted issue for us as a country. It's not only just on the access to the internet and the technology, but I think we're also having a divide in terms of literacy, in terms of how to use the internet and what is safe and so forth. And the third element I think that we could also then look into is the issue of digital trust, not only on social media, but when we look at e-commerce in the country as well, we are trying to really adopt this technology at a rapid race and align to the developing world. But we then are faced with issues of with the e-hailing services, you are able to book your service through digital technologies. Yet, I think from a physical aspect, we're still having issues that, pertain to crime. Even if it's just, purchasing things online, you're still, there are people that do not feel safe to have people deliver things to them. So I think it's beyond just communicating on social media when we talk about digital trust for the country. But, the transactions that take place, how do people use their bank cards, and identifying, how do you identify a secure site? There are simple things that people can look out for. So I think, the education aspect that you've mentioned is quite vital, but I think also the public-private sector partnerships are going to be key in how we build digital trust. It can't only be a public sector initiative, but the banks are coming on board and, doing a lot of awareness on cyber phishing and so forth. So I think that needs to be a deliberate element in terms of the public sector from a policy framework in terms of addressing digital trust and through public-private sector partnerships. So I think it's a much wider discussion for us as a country when we talk about digital security.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start from you then. Same questions for everyone. I think we're mostly focusing on the urban aspect of digital divide. What about digital divide at a rural aspect also? So how does access to information, digital information and communication technologies, how does it affect governance and civil engagement at both the urban level and also at the rural level also?
Sure. I think for me, the infrastructure disparities is a hindrance. Those engagements in most of our rural areas don't exist. I think it's things that we take for granted because we are in urban areas and we kind of think they don't exist. They're still using, it's like my dad, when I call my dad in the Eastern Cape, he needs to go to some hill to get, there's no network. The load shedding, and it made it even worse. So there we still have a long way to go. The infrastructure it's a big hindrance in that space. It's you can't compare the two. It's really, I always say that it's sadly about South Africa. You need to understand that you're dealing with the first world and the third world issues. So that's why you need to be mindful on anything you do. Always factor in the psychosocial issues that are facing our country, because that's the reality. My life and my dad's life, it's really chalk and cheese. You can't even begin to compare.
So there's a lot of work that needs to be done at that level.
No, absolutely. There's a lot of work. That's why I'm saying the comparison, you're moving from the premise of being equal. If you start to compare, you can't even compare. They've got no access to internet. They've got, the schools in the Eastern Cape, and we just launched a program with the University of Venda. Same issues that we need to start with the infrastructure issues of saying there's no internet. Let's start there and make sure that they are connected in order for us to talk about online cybersecurity training. And also with them, they're facing technical glitches that we needed to have a tutor that is physically there to assist them. Whereas here the students are working on our platform 24/7, they've got access, it's no issue. So it's a chalk and cheese type of situation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Pillay. From your perspective, contributing to SDGs at both rural and urban areas, how does because from what I'm hearing now is the digital divide is very high at the rural area. So does that mean SDG is going to suffer at that level? Because we are trying to look at active citizenship within the Republic, not just focusing on the urban aspect alone. Your perspective on that.
Thank you very much. So I don't think it should be looked at in a silo on its own. So let's take one SDG, say quality education. I remember during COVID, there was a service provider that had taken the syllabus of schools and put it onto a WhatsApp, and they could, interact with WhatsApp while not going to school. But unfortunately, our rural communities couldn't get to that type of technology, and therefore was at a big disadvantage. And I think when it comes to the SDGs, especially private sector, along with governments, having a look at those 17 goals and then looking at how we can now use technology, access to the internet, to come up with those solutions that's needed. But once again, it comes down to the infrastructure, the partnerships, like the important man sitting next to me. And just, I think, understand the responsibility of us as a country to ensure that we do have this type of access to our citizens and our youth especially.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. John Bosco, from your experience in government sectors, what has been done for rural areas in terms of bridging the digital divide? And also, you said, I think City of Johannesburg is the only city doing some of the initiatives they are putting in place. What are the collaborative efforts for other municipalities or other areas to tap or learn from what you are doing so we can bridge this digital divide across?
When you look at the City of Johannesburg, we are a metropolitan municipality. We're one of the largest in the country. We unfortunately have access to a lot of things that people in the rural areas won't have access to. Now, when you look at a rural child, that rural child has 4 issues. The first one, do I use the candle or will there be power? The second one, do I have to walk 10 kilometers to obtain knowledge or can I get it where I am? The third one is, whilst I'm about to go and learn, can I get access to the learning materials anytime, any place, through any platform? The fourth thing that is important is, can I create an economy using digital where I am? Now, when you ask those questions, the rural child will have a lot of challenges. From a power perspective, I think government's only coming now to the party where they are rolling out solar panels and other initiatives and becoming a bit more cheaper. But we need to find alternative means of power to power up the rural communities, because without that, the second thing is that when it comes to community access, one of the things we learned in the City of Johannesburg that we cannot do it alone. Yet there are many, many government entities that provides the service. We have Telkom. We have a satellite company in government called Centec. In fact, we are talking to them now as the city to say, you know what, we are so tired of our fiber being stolen because people think it's copper, that we now want to do satellite. There is radio that is working through Centec as well, SABC and so on, where we have radio that can transmit data. In fact, some of our sites here in Johannesburg, we actually use radio as a means of communication. And we're getting data to the people in those sites. So there are many different ways. And if you look at the cell phone companies, yes, your grandfather might have to go, or your father might have to go up to the hill, but at least there's a hill that has signal, right? So partnering with those people that actually provide connectivity, which is the second part, is the important thing that other people in the rural municipalities can do. They don't have to recreate what's already there. And if that fails, if you get power from the municipality, there are technologies that we call power over Ethernet that allows government to use ESCOM or whoever is the power provider in the area to actually send a data signal through a power line connecting to the plug in your house. So I think there are different things that we need to do. As far as information for me to learn is concerned, you'll find that there are many free learning platforms these days, but people don't know about them. Yes, you might have to pay to get the certificate, but learning is free. So if we give people access to these free learning tools, where they can learn things about science and biology and technology and all these other things, people will get learning done in that way, but it's all dependent on the first two. The last one, in terms of the economy, it takes a policy decision at a local government level to be intentional about creating an economy. Because if you are that rural child, we'll be able to do weather monitoring for the small-scale farmers. We'll be able to set up a e-commerce site for them to sell their goats and sheep, to sell the cheese that they make locally, to sell the curios that they make in the rural area to a tourist who forgot to buy it when he came to the Kruger Park online through an e-commerce platform and have it delivered to him in the States. Those are the things we need to start being intentional about. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Madam, please, from your perspective, from the media angle and branding.
Yeah. Definitely. I think on our side, from a communications and marketing perspective, what we're trying to aim for is a concept of leaving no one behind, right? So yes, we're adopting technology and we're seeing an increase in uptake. Quite interestingly, when we look at the stats in terms of who is engaging with us and following us on our pages, we're really seeing an increase just in terms of the older generation in South Africa. So you're seeing more of your parents coming onto TikTok. I think a lot of us are finding our uncles there. So I think, there's definitely a move towards more people, even in the rurals, getting access, be it, predominantly through smartphones. I think that's the reality of it, that it's still at a level where people are accessing through the smartphones but struggling to get, decent connectivity. So for us, we do realize that, we can't leave no one behind. So yes, we've integrated a digital strategy into our marketing, but then we also ensure that, we then go into provinces in the form of road shows that we go into. We literally go into schools. So yes, technology is here in South Africa, but I think we also need to be appreciative of our circumstances as a country. We have to appreciate that, there's a large portion of our society that needs us to still go into the rurals and speak to people in person. And I think, that also then gives us an opportunity and a leverage as Brand South Africa to then promote the digital literacy by going into the provinces. So yes, it is an issue, but I think, like I said, we are trying to ensure that we're not just abandoning other forms of marketing and reaching people because South Africa is such a divided society. And I think everybody else needs to consider that in their different spaces, that we can't just adopt this digital and leave people behind in certain spaces. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, panelists. I think from what I've gained so far, is that we need to repurpose active citizenship online in terms of the misinformation there and also the access to the right quality of information. And also at the rural aspect, we need to do more on digital infrastructure and connectivity. Thank you very much for your perception, your contribution and opinion. And also sorry to everyone for taking your time. Thank you so much.
Just maybe a question or two here.
I'm sorry. Does anyone else want to ask a question? I don't want to monopolize them. I do have questions, but I don't want to be the only one.
Okay. Can
I quickly take it?
And I was just saying to my colleague at Brand SA, South Africa is not a divided society. It's a diverse. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
That's correct.
I have a question about what, and this, any one of the panelists can take a bite. What do you think are the skills that we need if we consider the evolution that's taking place in terms of how we are using digital and how much more we will need to use it to make life happen and give access to opportunities? Where are the opportunities? What must I tell my 10-year-old to study if he's interested in this field? That's the first part of the question. The second one, traditionally we've got technology was seen through the eyes of traditional IT space. But we actually have a different competency, let's say in a Matalane, because she is using the digital environment to do marketing and communications, right? So is there a meeting of these two? So, yeah.
I think I'll answer the first one. That's my passion. I always say that as this generation, if we can't advocate and really steer the young people to the 4IR skills, we'll be failing them. And that cuts across. Now there's no marketing, there's no pharmaceutical, there's no health, there's no agriculture. Everything is technology-driven. I think if we can just get that right, that everything is technology-driven on any space, even the lawyers now, with artificial intelligence, everything is going to be digital. So the 4IR skills, which cuts across, it's difficult to break it down. But even if you are in health space, think of the cutting edge technology that is being used. Legal space, think of the technology that is being used there. and the training must really be along that. The biggest problem, I always say, in South Africa, we've got so much money that we're pumping in all these different sectors, be it your TVET college, be it universities, but are we producing the right skill set that is aligned with what is required by the industry? The answer is the fourth industrial revolution skill set. Now that everything, the training, I work with universities and driving that narrative to say, in our academy, we've got students that have got masters. They come back and start and just come and learn the fundamentals of cybersecurity. And to their surprise, they get employment. And so there's many of them. But the fourth industrial revolution skill set, from your engineering to be your cyber analyst, to be your technical engineer, there's so many. But they need to look towards that. And the first start, it's online. There are so many free courses online that are just giving you the basics. Then you can see where your passion is. But it cuts across now.
Okay, let me just provide some answers to that questions also. I think in the last 6 months, we have been doing some trainings on digital technologies at our research center at the University of Johannesburg. And most of the key skill set that we have identified one, soft skills are very, very germane in terms of the creative thinking and critical thinking abilities, soft skills. Then another aspect is also blockchain technology also, because you can do without software. We are talking about supply chain, the food, the sustainability that we are talking about can only be guaranteed through blockchain technologies also. Then another aspect of the technology is also artificial intelligence, especially when you're looking at analyzing different options. AI can help you with those analyses and even predict the outcomes of those resources or options that you are looking into. And another third technologies that we're also looking into is this cloud computing also, because everything is moving to the cloud now. We are saving everything now online. You don't even, you can be anywhere and access the same information. You don't need to carry anything along, as long as you know your password. So cloud computing is also part of what we are training some of our students on. And another aspect is also project management skill also, because you can have all this knowledge or this skill, but then the approach to the execution of them also are very, very germane. So project management is also very, very key in addressing the digital divide within the country. Thank you very much. Is there any other? Yes.
Yeah, in fact, the University of Johannesburg, one of the forward-thinking universities in this country.
Thank you very much.
And I'll tell you why. As the chairperson of the Chartered CIO Council, we're actually doing something revolutionary with the University of Johannesburg. You'll find that in today's society, you have a tertiary education stream, which gives you diplomas, certificates, degrees, PhDs, whatever. But on the other side, when you look at the professional, I'll give you an accountant as an example. You get your BCom, your BA, whatever, then you become an accountant, then eventually you join a professional body. And in that professional body, you become a chartered accountant. And that's the qualification that actually carries you into your competence and your skill in accounting. We have the same in ICT. So because there was a lack of professional skills and competencies that are certified by SAQA and NQF, as a Chartered CIO Council, we went down that route as a professional body to actually create that. That's why when we did the CAT and IT for grade 10s and grade 12s, we are able now to give them a certification that is recognized by a professional body that also has a SAQA and NQF alignment. We are busy now with all of these, even in the cybersecurity space. Now, why I'm talking about the partnership with the University of Johannesburg is we had a conversation with them, and this was passed by the Senate, if you're not aware. We actually took the Chartered CIO qualification, which is the equivalent like of a Chartered Accountant if you're in accounting, in the ICT space, and merged with the City of Johannesburg tertiary qualification, and we came up with a joint qualification called a Chartered CIO. And what this means is that for the first time, there is convergence between the qualifications of the tertiary stream and the professional body stream. So you now don't have to wait to become a chartered accountant later on. You can now become a chartered CIO when you complete your tertiary qualifications. In fact, the Minister of Basic Education now has to go a step back You see, what we do is we introduce children to IT when it's too late. We give it to them in grade 10 when they have to study CAT or IT. We should be giving it to them when they get into primary school, as soon as they've got language literacy. And when I mean that really serious, the person must be able to read, write, interpret, and analyze. We can then teach them problem-solving skills, because that is what's missing in SA. We have become a consumerist society, so we just consume, but we don't become problem solvers. Because with a problem-solving mindset, and you then have access to technology, you can build solutions for the future. So I think it's important that we start, as much as water, electricity becomes a basic thing, a tablet, laptop, cell phone, whatever, must become a basic tool set at a certain age. Because I can tell you, I was laughing earlier, I was saying in the other panel that my granddaughter, we used to confuse her by giving her politically correct and age-appropriate answers to certain questions. They now tell me that's the wrong answer, because they already got it from either Alexis, or they got it from Copilot, or they got it from ChatGPT, and they tell you what the real answer is. And then when they ask you what does it mean, now you have to think. Because they have access to the information, but without the ability to interpret what it means, that is age appropriate. I think those are some of the challenges that we now need to, along with digital literacy, is also digital maturity that we now need to start teaching kids in school. Thanks.
Thank you very much, panelists. George, do you have any other contributions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.